Yashoyanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yashoyanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Ballabha Girivanadhari Jaya Gopi Jana Ballabha Girivanadhari Yashoyanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yashoyanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajacharya Astottara Satashishimad ISKCON founder Acharya, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki Prem Shri Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakti Vrinda ki Shri Radha Krishna Go Gopinath Syamakunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan ki Vrindavandam ki Shri Ram Mayapur ki Jagannath Puri Dham ki Gangamai ki Yamunamai ki Bhakti Devi ki Tulsi Maharani ki Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskricha Naram cha eva narottamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tatorjayamudirayat Nasta Preshu Abadeshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. Reading from Srila Prabhupada's Srimad Bhagavatam, Departure of Lord Krishna for Dwarka, Chapter 10, Text 28 of the first canto. Please repeat. Nūnaṁ vrata-snāna-hutādineśvaraḥ samarcito asya gṛhīta-pāṇibhiḥ pibanti sakhy adhara-amṛtam muhur vraja-striyaḥ sammumuhur yad-āśayāḥ nūnam vrata-snāna-hutādineśvaraḥ samarcito asya gṛhīta-pāṇibhiḥ pibanti sakhy adhara-amṛtam muhur vraja-striyaḥ sammumuhur yad-āśayāḥ nūnaṁ vrata-snāna-hutādineśvaraḥ samarcito asya gṛhīta-pāṇibhiḥ pibanti sakhy adhara-amṛtam muhur vraja-striyaḥ sammumuhur yad-āśayāḥ nūnaṁ vrata-snāna-hutādineśvaraḥ samarcito asya gṛhīta-pāṇibhiḥ pibanti sakhy adhara-amṛtam muhur vraja-striyaḥ sammumuhur yad-āśayāḥ. Ladies, anyone else? Okay. Nūnam, certainly in the previous birth. Vrata, vow. Snāna, bath. Huta, sacrifice in the fire. Ādinā, by all these. īśvaraḥ, the personality of Godhead. Samarcitaḥ, perfectly worshipped. He, certainly, asya, his, gṛhīta-pāṇibhiḥ, by the married wives. Pibanti, relishes. Yaha, those who. Sakhi, O friend. Adhara-amṛtam, the nectar from his lips. Muhuḥ, again and again. Vraja-striyaḥ, the damsels of Vrajabhūmi. Sammumuhur, often fainted. Yad-āśayāḥ, expecting to be favored in that way. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Please repeat. Oh friends, just think of his wives, whose hands he has accepted. how they must have undergone vows, baths, fire sacrifices, and perfect worship of the Lord of the universe, to constantly relish now the nectar from his lips by kissing. The damsels of Vrajabhūmi would often faint just by expecting such favors. Religious rites prescribed in the scriptures are meant to purify the mundane qualities of the conditioned souls, to enable them to be gradually promoted to the stage of rendering transcendental service unto the Supreme Lord. Attainment of this stage of pure spiritual life is the highest perfection, and this stage is called Swarup, or the factual identity of the living being. Liberation means renovation of this stage of Swarup. In the perfect stage of Swarup, the living being is established in 5 phases of loving service, one of which is the stage of madhurya ras, or the humor of conjugal love. The Lord is always perfect in himself, and thus he has no hankering for himself. He, however, becomes a master, a friend, a son, or a husband to fulfill the intense love of the devotee concerned. Herein 2 classes of devotees of the Lord are mentioned in the stage of conjugal love. One is svakya and the other is parakya. Both of them are in conjugal love with the personality of Godhead Krishna. The queens at Dwarka were svakya, or duly married wives. But the damsels of Vraj were young friends of the Lord while he was unmarried. The Lord stayed in Vrindavan till the age of 16, and his friendly relations with the neighboring girls were in terms of parakya. These girls, as well as the queens, underwent severe penances by taking vows, bathing and offering sacrifices in the fire, as prescribed in the scriptures. The rites as they are not an end in themselves, nor are fruit of action, culture of knowledge, or perfection in mystic power ends in themselves. They're all meant to attain to the highest stage of Swarup, to render constitutional transcendental service to the Lord. Each and every living being has his individual position in one of the above mentioned 5 kinds of reciprocating means with the Lord, and in one's pure spiritual form of Swarup, the relation becomes manifest without mundane affinity. The kissing of the Lord, either by his wives or his young friends who aspire to have the Lord as their fiancé, is not of any mundane perverted quality. Had such things been mundane, a liberated soul like Sukadeva Goswami would not have taken the trouble to relish them, nor would Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu have been inclined to participate in those subjects after renouncing worldly life. The stage is earned after many lives of penance. Yesham tu antagatam papam janana punya karmanam tedvanva muhur nirmuktam vajanti mam dhridavrataha. So after many pious activities, Krishna tells Arjuna, performance of austerities, penances, and pious activities, on bhajanti mam dhridavrataha, one eventually engages in his devotional service with great determination. So it's a very gradual process to come to the stage of pure devotional service. Rupa Goswami says it's very, very rare. Pure devotional service is very, very rare. There are many pitfalls on the path, and there are many distractions on the path. So we hear tate nukampam shushamikshama bunjane vatma kritam privikvakam rigvag vabuvir vidadan namaste jivetamu yo mukti pade sadaya back. So this verse, which is even quoted by Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, that the devotee also has to go through many trials and tribulations to gradually attain the favor of the Lord. Prahlad Maharaj, for example, he took so much risk. His father was a great demon. Great demon. He hated Vishnu. He hated Lord Vishnu. And he actually worshipped Lord Brahma and performed huge austerities, of course, for the wrong purpose. His austerities were to become immortal by some manipulation of tapasya and so on, by some material tricks. He tried to become immortal. But Prahlad Maharaj, who was instructed within the womb of his mother by Narada Muni, immediately began preaching to his school friends at the age of 5. Komaram acharat pragyo dharmam bhagavatanihan. As a little boy, he's telling his friends he should take up durlabham manusajam janma, that the human form of life is extremely rare. Bhaktivinoda Thakur also has a song where he says, durlabha manusajam, that the human form of life is extremely rare. And we cannot waste it for in any moment. Srila Prabhupada used to say, don't waste your time. Take shelter of the mercy of the Lord, of the spiritual masters. Yasya deve para bhaktir yata deve tata guru. One has to have implicit faith initially in the lotus feet of the spiritual master and please him, taking many risks to serve and please the spiritual master. That is the secret of success. One starts in his devotional life. It's called Vedi Bhakti and Sadhana Bhakti. One has to take shelter of the rules and regulations of devotional service very strictly, because as Prabhupada says, there's always danger on the royal road. There's always the threat of fall down. So, adoshada tata sadhu sangha, we have to take shelter of the lotus feet of the Vaishnavas, of all the devotees, whether they're Kanishtha-adhikaris, Madhyama-adhikaris, Uttama-adhikaris. Of course, Prahlad Maharaj says, Tadvag visargo janataga viplavo. One should take abhishek from the dust of the lotus feet of those devotees who are free from all material desires. Niskinchana asya bhagavad bhajanonmukasya. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught us Vairagya Vidya Nija Bhakti Yoga. Shikshasho Eka Purusha Purano. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Darira Shari Kritam Buddhir Yastvam Aham Prabhadye. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya offers this verse to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Vairagya Vidya Nija Bhakti Yoga. The one, by associating with devotees, one loses his attraction to this material world, to the material pleasures. One releases tadara justamo, one releases the mode of passion and ignorance. When Srila Prabhupada came to Commonwealth Pier off of the cargo boat, he offered this prayer to Lord Krishna. He said, I don't know why you've brought me here, because these people here are covered by the modes of passion and ignorance. How will they understand this message of Veda Vyas? How will they understand it? But he said, there must be some reason you have sent me here to this horrible place where everyone is completely embroiled. Aneka chitta vibranta moha jala samravitaha. Prabhupada said they're like fish caught up in the net of sense gratification. Patanti narake sucha. They're simply gliding down to the hellish planets. We have to know, get the vision by pleasing Srila Prabhupada, that all the inhabitants on this planet in Kali Yuga They're all patanti narake. They're all gliding down to the hellish planets. If one does not get the shelter of the devotee of the Lord, even if he's a vegetarian, if he's so-called pious, he still incurs the reactions to sinful activities if he does not take shelter of the lotus feet of the great devotees of the Lord. Therefore, Rupa Goswami says in the Nectar of Instruction, tat karma pravartana, one must follow in the footsteps of the great acharyas. One must take shelter of these great acharyas. Niskinchana bhagavad bhajanonmukam. Niskinchana, they have no material desire. Why? Because their hearts are full of prem, full of love of God. So in our stage, in our beginning stages, Vedi Bhakti, trying to move towards Raganuga Bhakti, that's the second stage of Sadhana Bhakti, where one becomes a little bit more attached to the Lord in a feeling of affection. So here these sages of Naimisharanya, they have prayed to Lord Ram, and they have performed many pious activities. Antagatam papam janana punya karmanam. Many births, millions of births of pious activities. And now they're in the forest, the Dandaka forest, Dandakaranya forest, and they're associating with Lord Ram and Lakshman, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And they're praying to him, can we relish and taste this mellow of Madhurya Lila, Madhurya Ras? So they're praying that they will take birth in Dwapara Yuga and as gopis, to taste this highest mellow of love of Godhead, the Madhurya Lila, the Madhurya Ras, the Adi Ras, this conjugal taste of love between Radha, between Krishna and his gopis, Radharani and many other gopis. So they're praying for that, and the Lord benedicts them. And so they take birth as young gopis, and they're tasting Swakya Bhav, Swakya Ras, Parakya Ras, the lawless love, which in the material world, of course, is the most degraded. So this material world is a perfect, perverted reflection of the spiritual world, Goloka Vrindavan, where Goloka Eva Nivasiti Akilatma Buddha, where Lord Krishna is eternally engaged in wonderful pastimes with his devotees in all five rasas, ultimately the Madhurya Ras. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, although as mentioned here, he was extremely strict. One time he was hearing Jayadev Goswami's, a young lady, Mataji was singing Jayadev Goswami's songs regarding conjugal love and so on, the love of Krishna. And he was racing towards her, and Govinda grabbed him and pulled him down. It's a woman singing. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we know, exemplified this order of sannyas. When Chota Haridas went to beg some rice from Madhavi Devi, the sister of Sika Mihiti, she was extremely advanced devotee. There were only 3.5 devotees that understood the love that Lord Chaitanya was tasting, Radharani's Mahabhav. And one of them was Madhavi Devi, the sister of Siki Mahiti. So we see that Chota Haridas was punished severely by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu because he was in a place, a secluded place, begging rice, although perhaps he had no intention of lust. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu set a very high standard for himself in the sannyas order, for all those who are actually practicing sannyas or celibacy or brahmacharya or vanaprastha. So this is the example. And yet we know that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was asking Ramananda Roy in South India when he met him to go higher and higher, explain to me. He rejected the varnashram system. He rejected the following if one, Ramananda Roy said, if one follows Varna and Ashram perfectly, he can attain, Swarup Siddhi and so on. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu kept rejecting and raising him further and further. Of course, we know that Ramananda Roy is an expansion of Vishaka, the most intimate friend of Radharani's. I said sometimes he's also an expansion of Arjuna. But Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was bringing Ramananda Roy to more and more higher levels. What is the highest level of devotional service? This Parakiya Ras. And furthermore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself in Jagannath Puri for the last 6 years of his life was experiencing great separation from Krishna, the mood of Radharani and the inhabitants of Vrindavan. And here it says that sometimes the gopis would faint, the young ladies would faint. We know that when Krishna and Balaram were being taken away by Akrura, that as they were being taken away, the gopis were trying to stop the chariot of Akrura, and some of them were fainting, falling on the ground. Some of them even gave up their lives. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Ashishava padaratam panashtumam, that in these verses he's saying in the Shikshashtakam that a moment feels like 12 years or more away from you. So this is intense love of God, which is the opposite, of course, of what people in this material world are feeling. Love is, this conjugal love, or this love is glorified so much here in the material world, in Hollywood and Bollywood. There are always so many books are written about this, this so-called love. But this is not pure love. Srila Prabhupada said that when the gopis love for Krishna, there is not a tinge of selfishness. In fact, Radharani prays that sometimes Krishna, being a debauchee, is attracted to another gopi. And at that time, I become the maidservant of that gopi and take her hand and bring her to Lord Krishna, to Krishna. And she says, that gives me great pain, but that pain is the greatest of my happiness. She says, that unhappiness is the greatest of my happiness. So that's the mood of the devotees. In fact, one time Tripurari asked Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada, when we're trying to deliver the souls and bring them to Krishna, is that kind of the mood of the gopis? And Srila Prabhupada said, yes, that is the mood of the devotees, of the gopis. They derive more pleasure from bringing other devotees to meet Krishna than direct connection or service to Krishna. That's described also by Krishnadas Kaviraj in the later parts of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So that is not the way it is in the material world. Everyone's trying to get the wealthiest husband or the most beautiful wife, but it's being warned by the Avaduta in the 7th canto. Shoka moha bhaya krodha raga klebya shramadaya yanmula nūnam jayat spriham panartaya buddha. He's warning Prahlad Maharaj that the root cause of shoka, lamentation, moha, illusion, bhaya, fear, krodha, anger, raga, material attachment, klebya, poverty, yanmula surnayam jayat means the root cause of this, spriham pranartaya, means intense desire. This word spriham is also used by Krishna in the 14th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita about the modes of material nature. Lobha pravritim arambha karmanashama spriha. The material modes of passion is characterized by intense greed, intense desire for material attachment, material enjoyment, material possessions. My wife, I love her. My children, I love them. I have property. Janasya moho ya mahamameti. This is the great illusion of the world. So this is the complete and perverted opposite of Lord Krishna in the spiritual world, because he's actually the supreme enjoyer. No one can enjoy like Lord Krishna. Can you maintain 16,108 wives in 16,108 palaces? And in each palace you expand yourself as the Supreme Lord, as the husband of these goddesses of fortune? We can't even maintain. In Kali Yuga, it says you're very successful. Prabhupada says, if you maintain one wife, what to speak of 16,108? And then Krishna had so many sons and daughters. So he's exhibiting his aishvarya, his material, his spiritual, his opulence, his unlimited opulence. And he has the potency to do that. He's known as Yogeshvara, the Lord, the Supreme Lord of all the mystic yogis. Natasya karyam karanam chichavidyate natat-shamascha vyadikastra justyate. Sarvasya shaktir vividhaiva shriyate swabhavaki jnana bala kriyacha. That the Lord is so full of mystic potency. So many potencies are coming from the Lord. Simply by his glance, he is generating millions of universes in the form of Mahavishnu, Karanadakshay Vishnu. And then when he breathes in, they all come back inside his body, which is 311 trillion years by the solar years. And then he expands himself as Sharadakshay Vishnu and gives birth to Lord Brahma. And then Lord Brahma is empowered by the Shakti of Krishna, produce 8,400,000 species of life throughout the universe, not just one universe, but millions and trillions of universes. And yet, he simply wants to be loved by the gopis, by the devotees, simply wants that prema, abhideya, sambandha, and prayojana. These are the stages, these are the understandings. To understand I have a relationship with God, to engage in that relationship, bhakti yoga. Samatitaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate, bhakti yoga prayojitaha. By engaging in devotional service, one transcends these modes, these attachments of raga, klebya, shramadaya, and these different material attachments, lust, greed, and so many other things, and develops, comes to the Brahma-bhuta platform, where one can actually develop sambandha, an attachment, and a relationship with the Lord, and gradually come to the stage of prayojana, where one can taste the fruit of love of God. That is what Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came here for. Krishna himself, in the age of Kali. Krishna Varnam Tvisha Krishna Sangopangascha Parshadam Yagya. So Sangopangascha Parshadam, he comes with his associates, and he's dancing in ecstasy in this Navadvip area, in this Bengal area. And he's drowning all these inhabitants in pure love of God, simply by dancing, chanting, and Narottam Das Thakur says, distribution of foodstuffs offered to the Lord. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, he loves his devotees so much that he would eat the remnants of his own devotees. We know the story of the Panihati, the chip rice festival, where Raghunath Das Goswami, renunciation personified, he arranged the chip rice festival, and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came there, and he was embracing Lord Nityananda, and they were taking chip rice and yogurt, chip rice and condensed milk from the pots of all the Vaishnavas. So the Lord actually is the property of his devotee. The only way we can purchase the Lord is by complete, unadulterated desire to please the Lord. So we have to pray to the Lord to free my heart from all these different desires. And we have to be greedy. Lolya shamai means greediness, to taste the nectar of this drop of love of God. Even a drop of love of Godhead can drown the entire world in love of Krishna. So Rupa Goswami says we have to be eager. Just like Yanmuna Srinyajayam, Spriha. Spriha means intense desire. So we have to have an intense desire to attract Lord Krishna. Intense desire. And how do we do that? We have to please the spiritual master, the great acharyas. We have to please the guru. Yasya deve parabhaktir yatadeve tata guru. To please the spiritual master, and the spiritual master has asked us what to do. Educate the entire world in Krishna consciousness. We're meant to be educators. Yare deki tarikaha Krishna upadesh. To give upadesh to all the souls. Understand that you're not this body. A very simple message. You're not this body, you're an eternal spirit soul. Sarva bhuteshu yenaikam bhavam avyam ikshate. Avibhaktam vibhakteshu tadgyanam sadvikam sritam. Krishna tells Arjuna, the one who sees the soul, the oneness in the many, that the souls are the absolute energy within the body. One who sees like that, yenaikam, the one quality, no upadis. You don't see male, female, black, white, Hindu, Muslim, man, woman, all these, no. Not even brahmachari, grihastas, and you don't even see that. You transcend even the varnashram and come to the platform of spiritual understanding and give it to others. Lord Chaitanya is begging us. He himself came here. Lord Nityananda, who is Lord Balaram, who is the Adi Guru, he came here himself. And he went door to door taking risks. We know that he was even attacked by Jagai Madai. We heard about this yesterday. So Prahlad Maharaj, so many devotees, they take risks to spread this message. Haridas Thakur, he was beaten in 22 marketplaces, whipped by the Muslim guards and so on, the constables. So, we have to take all risks and go through all kinds of trials and tribulations. What to speak of us, the Pandavas, Queen Kunti, they went through so many adverse situations when they were 5,000 years ago. Pure devotee of the Lord, going through so many trials, so many tribulations. And she said, Vipadārshantu tā shashvat tatradacha jagat guru. Bhavato darshanam yatsad apunar bhava darshanam. That she's praying for more and more trials and tribulations. The Pandavas lost their wife. The Pandavas lost their kingdom. The Kauravas, Duryodhana tried to kill them in so many ways. But they went through, depending on Lord Krishna, and came out successful. So we have to push this movement on, push on the movement, please the spiritual master, and then we can please the great acharyas, and in this way receive their mercy. And then Krishna says, Bhaktiyastu ananyaya shakyam aham evam vidorjuna. Gyatum jastum chatat. You can see me. We want to see Krishna. How do we do it? Bhaktiyastu ananyaya shakya. Engage in pure devotional service, avoiding all the different weeds. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was cleaning the Gundicha Mandir, first of all, he cleaned the outside. He was sweeping all the dust and all the pebbles, and he got all hundreds of men to help him. And then they were preparing for the Lord to come and sit in the Gundicha Mandir, Lord Jagannath, come and sit there. So then they got buckets, hundreds of buckets. They were bringing it from the Virendra Sarovara, the Ghat, and they were washing the ceilings, the walls, the floor. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu kept, in a nice way, admonishing those who were not cleaning properly. He himself was washing with his own clothing and with his own tears. So we have to cleanse the heart of all subtle and gross material desires. Adoration, distinction, and profit. Subtle desires within the heart. Even within our movement of Hare Krishna movement, we're always wondering, oh, will I be adored? Am I a distinct devotee? Am I a special devotee? Do people offer me obeisances when I walk by? Profit, I can get something here, you know. I'm a big leader, I can get this, I can get that. So these are subtler contaminations within the heart. But if the Lord is to sit within our hearts, we have to become devoid of all these weeds, of all these little things within the heart. And actually, Purport Prabhupada quotes Bhaktisiddhanta in that particular chapter of the Gundicha Mandir, that sometimes devotees are chanting and hearing Shravanam Kirtanam, but they're actually watering the weeds of material desires. They're watering the weeds called pratishta and puja and jiva hinsa. These are different things. Envy of other devotees. I don't like this devotee. I don't like that devotee. Or pratishta, I want some worship, some fame, some position. Or puja, I want someone should worship me. Someone should adore me. These are all subtle contaminations. So Bhaktisiddhanta warns that you're chanting, but these weeds are growing with your chanting, and one day they will choke up your creeper. Your devotional creeper is trying to go up and penetrate the coverings of the material world and attain the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. But you're watering these weeds. Your mind is going oscillating because you haven't attained pure devotional service. You haven't entered really into the house of bhakti. In the house of bhakti, one is constantly thinking of Lord Krishna. And Narottam Das Thakur is praying, Gauranga, Gaurange, Bulite Habe, Pulaka Sharir. When will my body perspire? Just when I hear the name Gauranga. When will I feel some trembling in my body when I hear the name of Gauranga? When will we experience the fruit of this chanting of the holy name? Namnakari Bahuda Nija Sharva. That holy name, Nama Chintamani Krishna Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha. That holy name is full of all Krishna's Shaktis. Krishna Shakti is full of it. Nama Chintamani Krishna Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha. Puno Shuddho Nityo Mukto. Binadvan Nama Namine. We don't realize that, or at least I don't. But this holy name is full of all the potencies of the Lord. And with this holy name is dissipating the darkness within our hearts and the darkness within Kali Yuga. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Krishna has invested all his potencies in the holy name. Shravanam Kirtanam Krishna. Right? So when we chant, we want to avoid the offenses to the holy name. In order to get the mercy of the spiritual master, in order to get Lord Krishna. Bhaktistu ananyaya shakya ahamevam vidorjuna. Gyatum jastum. You can see the Lord, you can know him, but it ain't easy. It isn't very easy. So Rupa Goswami says, Utsahan nischayat deryat, tat tat karma pravartanat. Utsahan. We have to be enthusiastic. Srila Prabhupada always loved the enthusiasm of his disciples. There's these rath-yatras in these different places. I saw one rath-yatra in Philadelphia, and devotees were just jumping and jumping, and Srila Prabhupada was so happy. And when Prabhupada came to the airport in Los Angeles, there was thousands of devotees, and everyone we took over the entire airport, and that's a big airport. It was just like pandemonium. Devotees were in such ecstasy, crazy, and people couldn't understand what's going on. But this is the enthusiasm of devotees. They've met the great devotee of the Lord, the Mahabhagavat, in this age of Kali. He's come to dissipate the darkness of Kali Yuga in these far-off countries like the US of A. So that is utsahan, nischayad, patience. One has to be patient. We think, oh, I'm going to become a pure devotee in 20 years. Well, myself and my godbrothers here, we've been chanting for 50 years. And we taste the ecstasy, no question. When you try to distribute the holy name, there is ecstasy there. The Lord is reciprocating with us. When we worship the deity, when we cook prasadam for Krishna, the ecstasy is there. But we have to be patient. Nischayat. And daryat means confidence or determination. that we have to pursue this with confidence and determination. That I'm confident that the acharyas will bless me. I'm confident they're my well-wishers. They're the greatest well-wishers. Srila Prabhupada had so much love for us, so much love for his disciples and others. He was so merciful. We say Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu. He's the ocean of mercy, the ocean of compassion. Devotees are overwhelmed with compassion. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his only anxiety is how will all these living beings in this Kali Yuga become delivered. And Haridas Thakur explained to him, simply by chanting the holy name Krishna once, one becomes relieved from all sinful reactions that they could ever commit. Haridas Thakur tells him this and tries to appease his anxiety. The Lord is in anxiety for his fallen souls to go back to him forever. Get out of this place. It's a horrible place. Forget about material opulence and little bit of opulence and comforts and this. Raghunath Das Goswami, he had the wealth of the Kuvera, the treasure of the heavenly planets of Lord Indra. And his wife was as beautiful as an Apsara, a goddess of the heavenly planets. And Lord Chaitanya said he rejected everything like stool in a pit. He is known as renunciation personified. Raghunath Das, his father, Govardhan Majumdara, was so wealthy, and his uncle, Hiranya. They were so wealthy, but he rejected everything. And how did he get the mercy? First, he approached Lord Nityananda. And Lord Nityananda put his lotus feet on his head and said, I want you to please all the Vaishnavas, arrange a big feast, the Panihati, the Chidadari Mahotsava. He told him this. So you have to please the Vaishnavas and you have to please Lord Nityananda. Without the mercy of Lord Nityananda, Nitai Pada Kamalar Koti Chandra Shushitala, that Nityananda's lotus feet are like millions of moons. When the moon is full, like last night, it's very cooling. Very cooling. And his lotus feet are like millions of moons. Radha Krishna Paitina, you cannot get the mercy of Radha and Krishna unless first you please Lord Nityananda. Narottam Das Thakur tells us this. How to please Lord Nityananda? Please the acharyas. How to please the acharyas? Srila Prabhupada said it so many times that when they said, Prabhupada, can you say it again? Distribute my books, distribute my books, distribute my books, preach. Of course, he also said that you must become perfectly exemplary. You cannot preach if you're not exemplary. So first you become Krishna conscious, then you distribute it to everyone else. And this age is not like the other ages. We simply have to follow the basic tapasyas, simple austerities. Vairagya vidya nija bhakti yoga. Vairagya, renouncing illicit sex, gambling, meat eating, and intoxication. Avoiding asatsanga tyaga, avoid the association. Never accept the association. Kapila Dev says, Teshu asanteshu mudeshu kanditatmasu asadushu. He says, one should stay far away from the asanteshu mudeshu, a coarse fool who is bereft of the knowledge of self-realization. Kanditatmasu asadushu, asadushu. He has no spiritual qualities. He's full of envy, he's full of lust, he's full of greed, he's full of jealousy, he's full of anger. All these qualities that we had. This is from the Maya. She's extremely powerful and she covers the living entity. Stay. Stay in the material world. Kanditatmashu asadishu. Yoshit kridam igeshucha means he's a dancing dog in the hands of a woman. Yoshit kridam igeshucha means a plaything. A plaything in the hands of the woman. That's what the demoniac mentality, that's what the materialistic, That's what they want. They want to enjoy money and women, right? So we have to avoid that association as if it's poison. Even the king, Prataparuja, he was a pure devotee. It's very difficult to understand this king surrounded by wealth and opulence and beautiful wives and elephants and entire kingdom, but he was a pure devotee. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, he may be a pure devotee, but because he has the title king, it's like a blot of ink on a white sheet. And the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu kept denying an interview with Maharaj Prataparuja. Of course, when Ramananda Roy, propositioned Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to kindly be merciful to Maharaj Prataparuja, and Maharaj Prataparuja was so humble as a king that he became the sweeper for Lord Jagannath at the Rath Yatra. And then he was told by Sarvabhauma, simply put on ordinary clothes and go, and you can have darshan of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And if he went to Lord Chaitanya, who was resting in the gardens on the way to the Gundicha Mandir, and he was massaging Lord Chaitanya's legs. And Lord Chaitanya was in ecstasy, and he said, I don't know who you are, but you're my greatest well-wisher, because he was reciting songs from the gopis. The gopis, Krishna had abandoned the gopis because they were proud that here we are dancing with Krishna in the forest of Vrindavan on the full moon night. And so Krishna left the Rasa Leela, the arena of the Rasa dance, because the gopis had become proud. Dambo, Darpo, Abhima. Dambo means pride. So that's a demoniac quality. Lord Indra, he was proud. He lost his guru, Brihaspati, left him, and then he lost his kingdom. So pride is a great enemy. So in a humble way, we associate with the devotees with great humility. We touch the feet of all the Vaishnavas, of all devotees. In fact, Kalidas, who was of a Brahmin caste in Bengal, it said he ate the remnants of the food of all the Vaishnavas in Bengal. His name is Kalidas. He ate all, he had no, he didn't feel no aversion to licking the plates of the Vaishnavas after they ate. So do we have that much humility? We can try, but at least we can, at least technically or intellectually, understand what is humility, what is freedom from false pride. And then the Lord will benedict us, hopefully. So, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Forgive me for my offenses. And there can be some comments from devotees, more advanced senior devotees, on this verse about the queens of Dwarka. Anyone? Yes, Prabhu? Is there a mic? Do you know how to turn this on? Yeah, there we go.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Nice class.
Thank you.
There's an interesting point. I believe it's Harinam Chintamani. If someone wants to know the quote, I can get the exact location. Where Bhaktivinoda Thakur describes pratishta. This is the desire for fame and position, recognition, is the root cause of all the other anarthas.
Oh.
Interesting, huh? And he also says that it's the most difficult one to become free from. So it's like subtle sex life.
Yeah.
A lot of times we're thinking sex life is a tough one, but it's the subtle sex life that actually sources the gross sex life.
Yes.
It's an interesting combination. But if we look at, there's one verse, let's see, 11.2.37, Vayam duti yabini veshata shad ishadi paitasha viparyoshmiti tanmaya yato buddha abhijetan bhaktyayaka yeshvam guru devatatma. So fear overcomes the living entity when he misidentifies himself as the body. In this condition, he goes through a role reversal. Rather than seeing himself as Krishna's servant, he becomes Krishna's competitor. So that's really what this pratishtha is all about. You know, you want to be the center of the universe. And so it's understandable how the other anarthas kind of come from that.
They spring from that?
Yeah. Oops, not close enough. Do I need to say it over again? Just don't move it around. I get too excited, you know. So yeah, it's very powerful anartha. And this is part of what the Pralambasura represents in the Krishna Samhita, and you know, Bhaktivinoda Thakur. It's part of it, but he also includes woman hunting. And he says this is the most difficult. Woman hunting? What?
Oh, okay, yeah. I'm hard of hearing, so.
You too. Well, I got hearing aids in, so you got to get some, you know. So this Dhenukashura represents this pratishtha, but also woman hunting, so gross and subtle. Maharaj yesterday in class made the point that the two demons that Balaram killed, and one of them is Dhenukasura, and the other one is Pralambasura. So Pralambasura, but we just don't do it, you know, because Krishna's just merciful to us. We have to really work at it. This is the difference between the demons that Krishna kills and the ones that Balaram kills. So we really have to try hard. In other words, we see these tendencies within ourselves to be, you know, recognized and praised and, you know, be the center of the universe. And we just have to check it. And it will oftentimes come up in our japa in the terms of the inattention. Because pramada, inattention, comes from material desire. And this is the biggest material desire, to be the center of the universe. And everything else comes from that.
Yeah, I like what you're saying, that it's kind of like the spring, the underwater spring, feeding the other anarthas within our hearts, is this subtle sex desire. And then it can trigger the more gross ones if one is not careful, as we've seen in the history of ISKCON. But there's the subtle ones, which are like the spring, the source, and then if one is not careful, they manifest in more grosser ways.
Yeah, exactly.
I wanted to tell a story that I heard. Kirtiraj Prabhu, who now is in Alachua, he was sitting in front of Prabhupada, and Prabhupada was doing a bit of business work, and he was sitting right in front of him, and he was chanting japa. And he was sitting there going like, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. And he was thinking, you know, Prabhupada's going to hear this. He's going to be so pleased that I'm chanting so nicely. And Prabhupada stopped and said, chant quietly. And Kirtiraj says, I guess I realized I was kind of like showing off with my japa. So, you know, even in chanting, we have to be very careful. Just like you were saying, you know, it's simple japa, but, you know, are we doing it to please Krishna, or are we just getting people to, hey, look, he's really a good chanter there? So we have to be careful, because that subtle fame, adoration, and distinction thing, it sneaks in everything. So we have to be very careful.
The mind is very subtle. I agree with your point. You're saying that we have to be very careful in our chanting or in our service. It's basically the mind wandering around, influenced by the false ego, the subtle, the astral plane, the subtle body. And until we attain a more spontaneous stage of love of Krishna or attachment to Krishna, it says that the mind oscillates. It's oscillating. You're thinking of the holy name, you're thinking of Krishna, and suddenly it oscillates over to some material, some mundane thing, or the ego influences it, like you're saying. Oh, I'm a great chanter. My chanting is excellent. Yeah. Thank you.
the real solution to it. There's an interesting quote from Bhajan Rahasya. This is Bhaktivinoda Thakur's his work, and he says that one who fails to try and one who fails to try to free himself from anarthas does not achieve the mercy of the holy name or achieve success in life. So the next verse, it's a couplet. It's almost, initially it will sound almost contradictory. And then Bhajanoda Thakur says, on one's own, one cannot free himself from anarthas. But if he cries to the holy name for several days, the holy name will remove all the anarthas from his heart.
That's heavy.
Yeah. So it's that crying mood, that is super intense utsaha, crying to Krishna, please let me engage in your service. Please free me from these horrible anarthas that are blocking my relationship with you. And it's a crying mood, very deep feeling, not mental, but from the heart. So it really, that's the formula that all the acharyas give for freedom from anarthas. Of course, we also have to try, particularly with the ones that Balaram killed, Dhenukashur and Pralambasur. Dhenukashur, my understanding is that is a lack of sambandha, of understanding, shastric understanding, which causes that. And Maharaj brought up another point in class, but I hadn't heard that one. So obviously, the way we work on that is read Prabhupada's books, discipline ourselves and study. The other one is much more subtle, and it just requires tremendous effort to see this is my impurity. I want to be the center of the universe. I'm, so puffed up, so many different things, and we have to work at it. We have to really control the mind. But the easiest way, of course, is with this crying. And then the mind automatically starts becoming under control because we get a higher taste.
Gabi habi bolo se denamar. When will I cry? So your point is very, very, very pertinent. To beat oneself down to the point where you feel hopeless and helpless, as Draupadi did, and then you cry for the mercy of the holy name when you're doing japa. When we're doing japa, it's an amazing point. It's very important to always keep there, because the tendency is, as far as I can see in myself and others, is complacency or despondency, which is similar, but you can dwell on, I'm not such a good devotee, this movement, it's not making much progress in America, look at you, there's all these things, just become despondent. I've seen it with myself and other devotees. To go deeper and cry to the Lord, because He's our witness, He's witnessing our...
But that crying can come about through deep introspection, serious introspection, and see, these are my impurities, and what can I do? What can I do with them?
Deep introspection, very important. To unpack our devotional service occasionally or frequently. Unpack our devotion. What am I doing? How am I doing? What's the quality of my attitude, my service? It's very important. Yeah. Introspection, very important. Yeah.
I just wanted to add one little thing that has nothing to do with anything else.
I'm retired.
Is that if you're in Mayapur and you're listening to this now, I just wanted to, because the camera doesn't show, there's actually a couple spots still available to attend class. Just thought I'd throw that in there. Spots still available to attend class. If you want to come and sit here, there's a few spots available. Okay.
Jananivas Prabhu, would you like to say something on this verse? Or give him the mic. Throw some light.
Prabhupada says that the chanting the holy name is a vibration. Vibration.
Vibration, yeah.
And he was walking with Jamuna, maybe in the Titinhurst estate, and they were walking, and then there's just the two of them in the open grounds and parks, and then Prabhupada says that the holy name is a vibration. And a little while later on, he said, the holy name is a vibration. So I had a realization of that when we would. This is before we was a devotee, but we were chanting Hare Krishna, and yeah, we were chanting. We had a little deity with us, Krishna, and we had a little kirtan. There was a few of us, and a couple of others also became devotees later on. Hangadangiri was there. I was there. Later on, another two. They all joined. But I remember that kirtan. We were having a kirtan because we had seen the devotees in England, in London, and chant Hare Krishna. And so we had the kirtan, and then we left. We were going to take some breakfast or something. And I actually felt at that time there was a vibration. I said, "Oh, that's what Krishna is." I didn't know what Krishna was, but I could feel that a positive vibration. I thought, "Oh, Krishna's a vibration." That was it. So, of course, Krishna is a vibration, but he's more than that. Also, he's the Paramatma. He's Bhagavan also, as well as that vibration of Brahman. So that's what Krishna was, a vibration. Somehow or another the kirtan, chanting the holy names is revealed. And another incident is, I was in Prabhupada's room up in the Lotus building with Satsvarup Maharaj. And Prabhupada was chanting Hare Krishna. And he was walking from his desk walking back to his bedroom in the other room, and then very slowly he was walking backwards and forwards in his room, chanting Hare Krishna. And me and Satsvarup Maharaj were sitting on the floor. But then Prabhupada, he came up to us, and he stopped, and he was very grave mood with that, and he said, "This chanting of Hare Krishna is a sound vibration of the Absolute. Hare Krishna, Hare." Then he started walking again. It was really, really, Prabhupada was really, and he let us feel a little bit for it, but Prabhupada was completely absorbed in it. Harinam Prabhu Ki Jai.
Jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Haribol.